Welcome to already the third episode of Students in DEstress, and in this episode we'll talk with Janet Thompson Jackson, who is actually a Wellbeing, Diversity and Inclusion Officer, among other things. You'll hear about that.
Just as a little background on how we met Janet, first we want to thank her because in the beginning stages of our project she helped us with a little bit advice on how to approach the design of our questionnaires and what to ask, and she gave us the very valuable advice of also focusing on people's positive experiences and positive advice and positive stories. And then we both, me and Aline, attended a lecture where she gave a very inspiring talk on well-being and diversity, which you also hear her mention in our conversation as well.
So in this episode we'll discuss different topics such as
meditation,
yoga,
listening to your body,
saying no,
and saying yes.
and we even have a relaxing exercise. Welcome, Janet. How are you feeling?
Thank you. It's great to be here. I feel wonderful. And it feels really good to be here with both of you.
Thank you.
Same. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am one of two Wellbeing, Diversity and Inclusion Officers for the Faculty of Law. And in addition to that, I do that on a part-time basis. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, I have my own well-being company where I work with people in the United States, but I also do here some yoga therapy and well-being coaching and things like Reiki and tapping, if you've heard of emotional freedom technique tapping, and different energy work, things like that.
Interesting.
Okay, so maybe we should start by asking, what does the position of Wellbeing, Diversity and Inclusion Officer at RUG here entail? If you can tell us a little bit more about what you do.
I would love to. So my counterpart and I, my colleague and I, Beth Yoder, we work exclusively for the Faculty of Law. Mm-hmm. So we do coordinate and meet with other diversity and inclusion officers across the university and other faculties, but we are under the Faculty of Law. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to help to stimulate a diverse environment in the Faculty of Law where everyone feels included, meaning everyone feels a sense of belonging. They feel that they can show up as their authentic selves and thrive in an environment that supports their well-being. Mm-hmm. That's really what we want to do. And we do that in a lot of different ways. One way is through just talking to people and allowing people to be heard. And you can imagine that sometimes just being able to tell your story is very healing. Mm-hmm. So we want to create an environment where people can share and feel safe in doing that. But we also want to help create systems within the faculty that support people, that help people to feel that their work is valued, that that they have a place in the faculty that they can grow and develop in a way that is healthy and in a way that is useful to the entire faculty. And that people, as I said before, can really just thrive in this environment. And so we hope to have input into different policies and programs, and we're putting on trainings and bringing people together in different ways to get to know each other and to just build a stronger community.
And this is for all the people. This is for students and for employees.
Yes, it's for the entire Faculty of Law, students and staff, faculty, no matter what level people are. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds so interesting because I wasn't personally aware of those stuff and systems at the university, how there are so many support systems and just,
Yeah.
Well, this is a new position. We just started. The position actually just started to exist in September.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's still very new. And so we're kind of paving a path here But there are other diversity and inclusion officers, and they call each other, we're the only one that's Wellbeing, Diversity, and Inclusion. But there are other people across the university that do similar work in diversity and inclusion in different ways. And all of that is really fairly new in terms of those types of positions.
Yeah. You said that you want that people can be heard. Can they then just come to you and tell the story? How do they find you?
That is a great question. And they find us in different ways. Right now, we are starting to reach out to a lot of people and meet with people on the faculty so that they know that we're here. And as we do that, people are talking to other people, so we do get some people contacting us, but we've held some we've held one faculty-wide meeting where the entire faculty was invited to come, but we've made a lot of appointments with people. People are starting to reach out to us, though. We have a regular presence in the weekly or bi-weekly newsletter for the faculty, and so we try to have a presence there and let people know what we're doing. And we also have, you may have seen, there is a calendar. Have you seen a calendar that has, it actually is easy to identify because it has our pictures on it right now, but it's a calendar that has different events, different celebrations. We started this, I believe, in November or December, and so it has different holidays from all over the world. We try to represent different holidays and events that are meaningful for people on the faculty.
Oh, wow.
And so we have these posted all over the place, and that starts conversation as well.
Oh, so it's like posters.
These are
physical
posters. It's also electronic in the Harmony building. Otherwise, they're posters. But what we want to start to do is to have it on the web page so that you could actually click on a link. So, for instance, American Thanksgiving in November, you'd be able to click on that link and you'd be able to read something about the history of American Thanksgiving.
Oh.
Or you'd be able to click on a link for Ramadan and read something or even view a video of someone on the faculty who celebrates Ramadan, and they are telling you what it's about and why it's meaningful to them. And it's a way for people to get to know each other, to get to know who's on the faculty, what's important to them. And again, it gives a person a chance to share something that's meaningful to them, which contributes to your well-being.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I haven't seen them yet, but I'll look out for them.
Please do.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea because it also strengthens, the sense of community, and it's such a nice idea. And since you also mentioned that it's a recent position, a new position, I'm wondering, do you feel any pressure, since navigating this new kind of stuff, at least for the university here?
Yeah. Yeah, good question.
Or can you experiment a little? Is that nice as well?
Yeah, I would not say that I feel pressure, but I certainly do feel, I feel excitement, but I feel, I'm trying to just describe actually what I feel. I think it is anticipation. Not pressure in a bad way, but we certainly do want to accomplish something that is concrete for the faculty. So that is the thing. Working with Wellbeing, Diversity, and Inclusion, there are these concepts that sometimes can be very theoretical, and you can talk about them a lot, but what does it really mean to see that in action? And so what we've done is we've created some goals, and at first we had a whole list of goals, and we thought, we're not going to be able to accomplish this in a year, in the first year, and so we really need to prioritize and see what we can do. And so that is why something like the calendar is a small thing, but it's something that was important because it's something that, again, people can contribute to, and it helps people feel seen, and it is at the same time showing the diversity in the faculty, but also helping people to feel included, which again impacts in a positive way their well-being. And so we feel excitement about being able to accomplish what we can. We also feel that we need to temper that excitement because there's only so much we can accomplish within a given period of time. And so we'll see how it goes. But we both kind of have an attitude of we're going to do the best we can. We're going to do as much as we can for the faculty in these areas, and we'll see how that goes.
What makes it hard to accomplish much in a small amount of time? What do you run into?
A part of it is that there is so much that we want to accomplish.
Okay.
There are so many different areas that we want to touch. For example, we want to do trainings. We want to have social events. We want to create different communities for people on the faculty that we're calling affinity groups. So these would be groups where people are able to get together with other people who they have something in common with. So for instance, if you have an affinity group for internationals, so anyone who is an international here would be able to join this group, and they may have social events, they may have informational events that are educational, they may do different things together, but it creates a sense of community within the larger community of the Faculty of Law. You can do the same thing with the LGBTQ community, or with women in law, or with people with special needs or disabilities, having these communities where they can share their experiences. So we want to do that. That is something that we're actually doing, that we're putting together. So the most difficult thing is probably really prioritizing.
Oh, right, yeah.
What can we do within a given time frame that is going to be really meaningful and help to accomplish the larger goal of stimulating diversity and inclusion and well-being?
All right.
In the beginning, you kind of also mentioned that you're doing yoga and like you're interested in that. And because we're also talking about, stress relief and just, how like students can chill for a moment. I'm also wondering, how did your interest there spark? And like maybe if you have any recommendations, would it help like students as well? Because I think it would, honestly. But.
Yeah, I started getting into this work of well-being over a decade ago. What happened was, I've been a law professor for about 25 years in the United States. And I started noticing very early on students coming into my office completely stressed out. So they might come in saying that they want to talk about the exam or some other aspect of the course, but I could see that there was so much more going on. And so I started just kind of creating a space where they could open up and start talking to me. And a lot of times it was, I feel overwhelmed, or I can't manage my time well, or I feel like I need to see a mental health specialist, but I'm reluctant to do that for different reasons because of stigma and things like that. And it reminded me of when I was a student, and I was extremely stressed, and I had the unusual stress of my father dying when I was in law school. And so I understood where they were coming from. I really felt like it was a mirror of myself that I was looking at. And so I started spending time with them, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was coaching them. I started because I was already a yoga teacher. And so I was used to kind of spending time with people talking about stress and things like that. And then it was happening frequently enough, and I think that people just kind of started gravitating toward me, or people would say, go talk to Professor Jackson. And I thought, I want to learn more about this, and I want to get more of a base. And so I became a wellness coach so that I really had the credentials to be able to help people, and the knowledge and the skills to be able to help people in a more comprehensive way. And I started doing meditation, holding meditation sessions for my students on a weekly basis. And then I noticed that staff and faculty were coming as well. And I thought, wow, so they're stressed too. And of course, I was stressed at the time as a tenure track professor, and then as a tenured professor. Even then, I was incredibly stressed by all of the things all the responsibilities that I had and all the different directions I was going in. So I started holding workshops, and this part of my life was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, I still had all of my responsibilities as a professor. And so finally, when I came here as a guest, first as a guest professor for the Faculty of Law, the first time I did that was about 5 years ago. But then last year, before I took this position, I was really deep into my well-being work at that point, and I was doing workshops for PhD students and even for supervisors and master students. And for honor students, I started doing leading with wellness and as a master class, and then I was doing a leadership lab and lectures where you all heard me
Yes.
talking about well-being. And so it was a natural extension for me to take this position because I retired from my university in the States, thinking that I was going to do my well-being business full-time. But then this opportunity came, so I thought, well, I will do this part-time because I just really love working with students. And I wanted that to be a part of what I continue to do. So that's kind of that's the abbreviated version of my journey. And I continue to, I'm right now getting my certification in yoga therapy.
Oh, nice.
So that allows me to work very specifically with people. So it's not just holding a yoga class for 30 or 50 people or something. It's working with people who have very specific issues that they're dealing with. So I'm focusing on an area of yoga therapy for people who have anxiety, experience burnout, chronic pain, and issues like that, mental health issues, and some physical issues as well. And just to kind of round that out a little bit, with yoga therapy, it's not just the asanas, the yoga postures. It is your breathing. It is how are you sleeping. It is very comprehensive, looking at a very multidimensional way that you're living your life. And so that's a little bit of what I do, and I bring some of that to the work that I do here, but I bring a lot of that to the work that I do in my personal freelance business.
How can people find the yoga classes? Or you're still doing them, right?
I'm not doing them.
Oh, you're not
yet,
anymore.
But
yet.
Yeah. Well, I was doing that in the States. What I will be doing now that we're here. So our daughter is graduating from high school, and she's decided that she wants to stay, and so. We love it here. So now that we know that our time here is going to continue, I am going to actually, not as a part, I am going to start setting up yoga classes and things like that. So I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But there are some things that you can do. Can I share some things that you
can
do that you can just easily fit into your day? Because many times people feel, I'm so stressed, I don't have time to go to a yoga class. I don't have time to sit there and read a book or take a bath or do something that is going to be relaxing. You think it has to take forever. But what if I invited you right now to either close your eyes or just lower your gaze so that you're just staring at one spot if you don't want to close your eyes. And just notice your breath. Notice your breathing. You don't have to breathe in any particular way, but just notice where you feel the breath moving in and out of your body. Maybe you feel it more in your chest. Maybe you feel it more in your stomach. You might even feel it in your throat. Just start to notice that sensation in your body. And you may even notice where you're holding some tension in your body. You may bring your attention to your shoulders and allow them to drop away from your ears, just relaxing your shoulders. You may bring attention to your jaw and notice that you may be holding some tension in your jaw. What if you separated your teeth a little bit, allowing your jaw to unlock? Noticing your eyes and allowing them to soften a little bit. Allowing the muscles in your stomach to soften. Feeling yourself sink just a little bit more into the chair that you're sitting in. Realizing that you can be supported in this moment. And just bringing the attention back to the breath. Just for this breath. And for this breath. And now allowing yourself to come back to the room, maybe stretching your arms over your head, giving your body a nice stretch. What did that do for you?
I didn't realize how tense I was up until this exercise, I think. And I caught myself kind of getting tense again, and then I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also noticed how many thoughts I have in my head. So I really tried to focus on your voice, and it was quite hard actually to shut down all the thoughts that were running through my head at the same time.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the thoughts, because a lot of people think that those thoughts are an obstacle to them either. So that was a very quick meditation. So
Yeah,
people,
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
People, you're welcome. People think that thoughts are an obstacle to meditation or an obstacle just to relaxing for a moment. But what if you just allowed those thoughts to be a part of the process? Because we're not going to stop thoughts from coming into our mind. It's just going to happen. So what if instead of saying, I can't meditate because I have thoughts, or these thoughts are distracting, what if instead of following the train of those thoughts, what if you just decided to count how many thoughts come into your head? Oh, that's one thought. That's two.
Wow.
That's three. And what happens when you're doing that is that instead of attaching to that thought and thinking, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? And then finding yourself in the grocery store mentally and looking at all the things in the grocery, you can go down that road, or you can say, oh, that's a thought about dinner. I'm going to let that pass. Oh, and here's a thought about working out later. I'm going to let that pass. And you can actually learn to not remove those thoughts, but to distance yourself a little bit from them so that they are not occupying the type of space in your mind where you feel captured and almost imprisoned by these thoughts, right?
Actually, I do that sometimes before I fall asleep, if I try to fall asleep. And I do not count them, but it's then like a slideshow.
Yes. Exactly.
So
So some people can count, some people you can do the slideshow, some people imagine each thought is a cloud that is passing in their mind.
Yeah, I've heard that
Some
one.
people decide that it is the ocean coming into the shore, and with each thought going back out into the ocean. You can have a camera and zoom out so that the thought becomes more distant and a little bit blurry. There are different ways of approaching this, but the key to remember is thoughts are not bad. Thoughts are not obstacles to relaxing or to even to meditating. But we have a choice as to whether we want to attach to these thoughts. And you can choose. You can say, you know, I'm not going to attach to every thought that comes to my mind, because guess what? Every thought that comes to your mind is not truth. You do know that,
True.
right?
no.
Yeah. There are a whole lot of thoughts that come to our mind that really are not worth our time.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is also the advice that you gave to students when they came to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talked a lot about these, what we call ruminating thoughts.
Oh, yes.
And when people can't go to sleep because they have these thoughts, you have a great system of being able to kind of use the slideshow. One thing that I recommend to people is to keep a pad of paper next to your bed and a pencil or a pen and write down, just list every thought that you have that's in your mind. And then afterwards, turn over the paper or put it in a drawer or fold the paper up, telling your mind, okay, I've handled that for now. And then magically, your mind thinks, I don't have to keep you up. I don't have to stay up all night thinking about these things. It's been handled for now, even if you know you need to come back to it the next day. And even for people who, some of my students who had PTSD, who had really issues that were preventing them from sleeping, they said that was the thing that really helped them to be able to get some sleep, because they were able to put those thoughts away for the night. So that's another tool. So these are 2 tools in 5 minutes that we have, more than 2 tools in 5 minutes that we've discussed.
That's great, because one of the main goal of this podcast was actually to help students to get rid of the stress a bit.
Well, and the thing is, you're not going to get rid of stress. I mean, I want to be real about this.
Yeah.
Stress is a part of life. It's how we respond to the stress. We can respond to the stress in a way that the stress controls us, or we can learn, and it's a learned behavior, we can learn to respond to stress in a way where we are managing it in our lives, where it's not controlling us. So I do this work all the time. I'm immersed in it. I still get overwhelmed sometimes. I still get stressed. I still sometimes realize that I've put too much on my plate. My agenda is too full. But the difference is that, 1, I become aware of it very quickly, and 2, I have tools that I use. One of my tools is that I've learned to say no.
That's a good
We
one.
all need to.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
learned to say no, and it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing even when you're younger. It's gotten easier for me as I've gotten older and as I have had more choices available to me. But I think that one thing that students sometimes struggle with is that they feel that they have to take every opportunity that they have, because it may not come back to me. If I miss this, then I may have completely messed up my life.
Yes.
This came
Wow.
up also in the other episodes.
Yes.
didn't it?
The way you know
Yeah.
like us so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is understanding that, it's really being able to understand that is just a story.
Yes.
That's just one story. Another story is that you can slow down even sometimes. Another story is that there are many paths that you can take, and they're all going to turn out fine. They may be very different experiences, but most of the time they'll be fine. And trusting, I think that one of the things that I have found is that students, a lot of times, people generally, not just students, are not necessarily in touch with with their own intuition, with their own instincts about what is right for me. And we often just look externally for, I want somebody else to tell me which path to take.
Yes.
I used to be like that. I just want somebody, just tell me what to do,
Yeah.
and I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But life doesn't work that way very well. And the more you can tap into your own kind of inner wisdom, I think the better you'll find your experiences are. And there are ways of doing that as well. So
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how do you do that? Where is
Detaching,
it?
maybe.
we're, quick little experiment here. Okay.
We're down.
I want you to think about something, and you can do this with your eyes open. I want you to think about something that you love, that if someone said, do you want to do this, or do you want to eat this, it would be an unequivocal yes. So something that is a big yes in your life. It could be a place that you want to go, someone you want to spend time with, something that you want to do, but it's like, it's always going to be a yes for you. Do you have that? Do you have that in your
Yes.
mind? Something that's a yes for you? Elaine, do you have
Yeah,
that?
I have several things.
Think of one. Just one thing that's
Just
a yes.
one
The
thing.
strongest.
Just for right now, that's a yes. Like, yes, I love this. It could be going to the beach. It could be, something, anything. Someplace you want to go. Okay?
Well, when somebody would ask me to speak Swedish to them or do something with language or anything,
That's a yes.
that would be a yes.
Okay.
I think that's very interesting.
So I want you to think about, how does it feel in your body? If you had to describe the feeling in your body when you think about that thing that is your yes, what does it feel like for you?
just like running, like jumping, like very hectic, like immediately.
Like energy?
Yes.
Like excited
yes,
energy?
it's like immediately I have to move forward, kind of like jumpy. I don't know if I'm describing.
Yes, but in
Yeah.
a good way, right?
Oh, yes,
So this
definitely.
very positive energy
Yeah.
going in your body.
Yeah, it's like a beam of energy that suddenly just...
Does it feel buzzy? Or
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, same.
Aline?
But the
Yeah.
thing is, you said choose one thing. I have this feeling often, a lot,
Okay.
like
Oh.
with many things.
Okay.
I'm like, interesting.
Okay, that's good. So that's your yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So think about something that's a no for you. That's a definite no. I mean, if somebody asked me, do you want a snake for a pet? That's a no for me, right? That's a no. There are some experiences I don't want to have that are a no for me. There are certain foods that I don't want to eat. They're a no. It's not, I don't have to question it. I don't have to think about it. It's a no. So do you have something in your mind that is a unequivocal no for you?
Yes.
You have that? You have your no?
Yeah.
Okay, Ivan, you have your no? And Aline, you have your no?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay, all right. How does that feel in your body?
Oh. Kind of like moving back, like the opposite direction. It's like this feeling of like I can't bear it. I'm like,
So you're retreating.
Yeah,
You
I'm
feel
like-
yourself physically almost retreating.
yes, like directly the opposite direction. It's like
And do you feel it in any particular part of your body? Is it like in your stomach, in your chest?
maybe my chest.
Yeah. You're feeling something there that's telling you
No.
no. okay.
Immediately.
And
yeah.
my throat.
Oh, okay.
Is your throat closing up a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit?
yeah.
It's getting a little
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
constricted as though
Yeah.
that is telling you no. Okay. So what if, as you are starting to make decisions, and you can try this by little things that are inconsequential, like you're at the supermarket, and should I buy this? Is it a yes for me or is it a no? And start noticing
Oh,
what you're
wow.
feeling like in your body. And then start using that for bigger decisions. Should I go to this party? Should I go on this trip? Should I take this course?
Oh, wow.
Should I do this? Should I do that? And then start, instead of just making a decision with your head, because a lot of times stuff that's going on in
Yeah.
our head kind of lies to us, right? It's not the best indicator all the time. But our bodies are very truthful. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so what if someone's asking you, hey, would you mind doing this with me or for me? Can I give this to you, or would you mind doing this? And you are about to say yes, but you're noticing that your chest, your whole body is retreating. It's almost like like physically inside you're backing up. Then even though you're saying yes, and you could be saying yes because you want to please someone, but pay attention to what your body is telling you. And that is not to say that we sometimes don't make decisions for other people. Sometimes, even though it's something that we don't want to do, it's important to do things for other people. And that is enough of a reason in and of itself. But where we need to make a choice about what is best for us and what's serving us, what if you listen to what your body was telling you?
Yes.
And allow
Yeah.
that to guide you.
I was actually thinking, because maybe somebody's listening and thinking, oh, but I am doing this, but if I think about my future, I actually want to do something entirely different. But maybe it's hard to follow that path instead of where you're heading. What would you do in such a situation?
I would say in that situation, that's a great situation for coaching. For someone to go to a coach and to be able to kind of talk through that
Yeah.
in decisions like that. Coaching is very forward thinking. So the difference between the work that I do as a coach and the work that a therapist would do is that a therapist often looks back into what things in your childhood and your background brought you to this place, and looking at those issues. I am very forward-looking in my work. So what are some goals that you want to achieve? What may be the obstacles that are keeping you from that? Let's create a plan. Let's move forward. And sometimes things come up where it's appropriate to refer that person to a mental health specialist. But a lot of times, many, many times, it's something that we can just work through coaching. That's a perfect example of a coaching situation.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for these little exercises. I think I'm definitely going to, and even our listeners, apply it in your daily life, because even in the supermarket, I found myself recently just, oh my God, what should I buy? And then these thoughts start going in, and it's so unnecessary, just let it go. So maybe listening to the body as well.
Yeah. What is your body telling you? I mean, sometimes when I'm tired and my mind tells me that I want chocolate, seriously, my mind tells me I want chocolate. And what I will do is I will go and I'll pick up the chocolate and I'll close my eyes and really pay attention to what is my body feeling in this moment. And sometimes my body is saying, oh no, that's the last thing you want right now is this chocolate.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. And I put it, and I'm able to put it down. Now, do I sometimes just eat that chocolate because it looks good? Sure I do. Because I'm human. And sometimes I just want to taste the chocolate. And so that's kind of a silly example. But it's an example of where there are literally times when I've put something back on the shelf or put something back in my refrigerator because I've just noticed, whoa, my body just had a strong reaction to that.
Yeah. Can I actually say something that I experienced? Because we were talking about the feeling you get when you think of a yes. And now that I have had this feeling during this podcast, while talking to you, I got like flashbacks of all these things that give the yes feeling.
Right.
So that I started thinking, I do want to have something creative in my job, those kind of things. And I thought of all the creative things I enjoy. So that's a big guide.
I love this. And so I would suggest that you journal a little bit about this. Write those things down. When you're feeling a big yes or a big no that could have an impact in your life, in your future, write about it. And don't worry about what am I going to write. Just write, I had this experience. And then allow whatever wants to come up about it to come up. Yeah.
Because we're always, people always tell you, okay, think about it, etc. But I've never thought of, actually listen to your body as well. Don't separate the two in such a, radical way.
Well, we are... It is a whole experience. We are whole people. We're not just our minds.
Exactly.
And in the academic world, it's very easy to just be in our heads all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we're using our brains a lot. Yeah. And actually, it is during this time that we are in an academic setting or a work setting where we sometimes disconnect too much from our bodies.
Yeah.
And that could even be working out and pushing through because your brain tells you, I said I was going to run, 5 kilometers today. I said I was going to do this, this, and this. And regardless of what my body's telling me, I'm going to push through because this is my goal and this is what my mind is telling me. Well, if you listen to your body, sometimes, if you only, take a walk instead of running that day, you may be better off for the rest of the week. I mean, I think about elite runners who I remember reading an article where a guy who's one of the best marathoners in the world said that he might have a plan of going out and having a long run, and 10 minutes in, he realizes my body is telling me that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing today. And he will stop and go home and sit on the couch and rest the rest of the day because he has learned that his body is a better indicator than what he put on his agenda for that day.
That is so interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was also thinking about something because sometimes you're in a situation that another person, maybe somebody with authority or in a higher position, tells you, you're good at that. You should do something with it. And they're like, I'm good at this, I should continue with this, but then maybe you're like, I don't even like doing this. I might be good at it, but do I want it?
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think that those sorts of comments from people can be incredibly helpful. Even if it is not the path that you take, it is really helpful to hear other people's perceptions about what you do well and what they're noticing, because sometimes we don't notice those things. So what I've learned is that when someone says something like that to me, it doesn't mean that I am supposed to do exactly what they envision me doing with this. But it does mean that I have a skill that they've noticed that I could probably develop in a way that's more interesting to me, in a way that resonates with me more. And so, you know, when I was practicing law, there were people who were appalled that I first stopped practicing law and I was running a nonprofit organization, an NGO. And there were people who couldn't believe that I left, you know, very well respected, very well regarded law firms in the United States to do this nonprofit work. But it was something that was very meaningful for me. And people were like, oh, you're ruining your career. But there were skills that I had as a lawyer that I was able to bring to that environment, and it was very fulfilling work for me. And then I started teaching as an adjunct during that time, and I realized, oh, I really want to be in the classroom again. I really want to be interacting with students again. And so I then went on the tenure track to teach. And you know, again, people were saying, "Are you sure this is something that you want to do?" And you know, questioning. So I find that there are usually always going to be people who question your decisions. There are a lot of times people who are going to be encouraging, but sometimes for other reasons. Sometimes for their, you know, they have their own motivation. All of that information is helpful. It is helpful, useful information, but it doesn't mean that it is information that creates your path. It's just data.
Yeah.
Right? It's data that you can use. So if someone says, you're really good at that, ooh, that's in my mental file now.
Or in the journal.
Or in the journal. I love it. Yes, absolutely. In the journal. Someone noticed that I'm good at this. So what, you know, there are things that I was good at as a lawyer that are right now making me a great well-being coach, right? So something that got me promoted in my legal career, I'm using in a completely different context now. But there are people who couldn't see me doing it in any other way than a legal context.
Do you have an example of such a thing that you were good at that you're using now?
Well, my kind of interpersonal skills in working with clients. The one thing, I've always been able to kind of put people at ease and speak easily with people, even though I consider myself more of an introvert. So I love a setting like this where it's just a couple of us. Or if I'm even speaking to a big crowd, that's okay. But so we can get into the introvert-extrovert thing later. But always able to get information from people, put people at ease, and people have a tendency to want to speak freely with me. That's great when you're interviewing a client. And I actually was able to really teach my students a lot about interviewing skills and help them develop their interviewing skills. So I used it myself as a lawyer. And then when I was teaching students and teaching them interviewing skills, I was really able to use it there. And what I'm realizing is that those are exactly the skills that I use as a wellness coach. So that person my supervisor who said, one of the things you do super well is to interview clients and to really get their stories and to be able to put them at ease so that we have as much information as we want. And that's going to help you to progress in your legal career and one day become a great partner and to be able to bring in all of these clients. And I realized at some point, that is absolutely not what I want to do. No. But I remembered, somebody saw that in me. I've just been using it in different contexts ever since then. So that would be my example.
Thank you.
I mean, I had one more question.
Yeah.
So, because you mentioned how, people were approaching you, especially in the beginning, and like how there was this stigma, around mental health, and they were very hesitant about like approaching anyone. And I was wondering, like, what do you think, like, now, like, how is the... Because sometimes us as students, we're thinking, okay, we have it bad, but maybe we're not realizing that before, like, it was even worse, and there's so many more resources now, like, about people to reach out, etc. And like, the destigmatization of mental health and just stress and work, I think, is getting better, you know? But, I mean, like, how did you deal with that, like, when you were a student and students approaching you?
Well, I would definitely say that it's better now. And I think that the global pandemic had a lot to do with that. Prior to that, and when I was a student, it really was just about soldiering on, just fighting through it. You know, that was the thing that you did. You put your head down and you got your work done, and you didn't really talk about it. And you didn't really seek help because there was so much fear in being held back or it being held against you. And one example of that, and this is changing now, but in the United States, to apply to be licensed to practice law in a particular state, in a particular jurisdiction, you have to go through this big bar application and then be approved by a character and fitness committee and pass a bar exam. And the character and fitness part of the application asked questions about mental health, and in a very, I would say, very intrusive way, and not only about your mental health, but even the mental health of your family and people, you know, close to you. And it was very well known that people either lied or were reluctant to be forthcoming about that because there were very real examples of how that was used against people because they were deemed not fit to practice law because they had certain mental health issues that may have been very well managed. And that is starting to change. Those questions are starting to be revised in many, many states. So that's one way that I've seen it change in the United States. But I think that globally, particularly since the pandemic, I've seen a big shift in how we treat mental health, even changing it from mental illness to mental health. Is the way that we speak about it now, and the resources that are available. One of the things that I think that we can still do a better job with is letting students know, and even staff, but particularly letting students know where these resources are. I still hear too much, but I don't know where to look. I don't know who to go to. I don't know who to ask. And we think from an administrative perspective, well, it's on the web, you know, it's on the website, or, you know, there's an office down here. But I think that we really have to continue to put it out to students and to people in ways that it is as in their face as everything else that we want them to see. And that is a way of also normalizing it. I mean, being able to create spaces where people can talk. And it not just, I've gotten to the place where I am burned out and now I need to go talk to someone. We should be creating spaces where people can easily talk to each other about, I'm just struggling this week. You know, I'm just having a day where I'm feeling it really difficult to get motivated today. You know, do we have a space where people feel free to have those conversations without feeling like someone's going to look at them in a strange way, or it being held against them in some way? So creating those spaces, making it very easy for people to know what resources are out there. You know, we hear a lot about long waits to be able to see a therapist.
Exactly.
And so, sure, I know where to go, but my appointment was not for 2 months, and that's not very helpful for me. So how can we create more accessible resources for students and for staff? How can we create an environment that feels like it is supporting everyone here in a way that is really useful to people, not in a way that I think it's useful, but in a way that you, the person who needs the resource, feels that it's useful. And so I think that we have to really continue to do the work. I think it is better. We are absolutely not where we should be.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not where I hope that we will, soon get to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we are taking steps. And this is, by the way, a huge contribution to taking those steps. I am just thrilled that you all are doing this podcast. I'm thrilled that you asked me to be a part of it. And, this is needed. This is very much needed. This is helping to start a conversation and for students to be able to say, oh, I have a voice, and it's not, I don't have to hide. I don't have to hide what I'm experiencing because someone is giving voice to my experience.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
Yes.
And helping us.
Definitely. So one last thing, where can people reach out to you? Because after this conversation, I'm sure people are going to be, okay, but where do we reach out to her? Because I think you're very helpful both to us and our listeners as well. So maybe website, your business and stuff.
Well, we are for the Wellbeing, Diversity, and Inclusion Office. We're in the Harmony building.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you our information. I should have had this handy.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
So, but we're on the third floor of the Harmony building. And what I can do is give you all of this information, and you can kind of you can add it. So people can reach us through email. There's an email for the office that I will provide to you, and then my individual email is j.jackson@rug.nl, and or just stop by the office. And we have student assistants who are working with us, and a lot of times people reach us through our student assistants. So I'll make sure to provide all that information to you so that you can have it in the notes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Is there anything you still want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for what you're doing and encourage you to continue and to, just remember to drop down and to not just operate with your head, but to really remember that you have a body who's giving you a lot of information all the time and to pay attention to that as well.
Yes, the take-home message.
Amazing advice, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
As promised, this is the link to the website of Wellbeing, Diversity and Inclusion. It is student.portal.rug.nl/infonet/studenten, which is STUDENTEN/rechten, which is RECHTEN/WDI/?lang=EN. And if you want to send an email, you can use the general non-confidential email of the Wellbeing, Diversity and Inclusion Office, which is wdi-law@rug.nl.